Hello, everyone. It's Chris. Happy Friday. Whoa. Oh, yeah. So the reason I was a minute late, because I'm paying this bad boy. Yeah, that's right. It's a ticket. I went 37 and a 25. Now, some people say, Chris, that's 150% over the speed limit. It's 37 and a 25, people. Come on. Let's be realistic here. It's not like I was going 100. 37. Well, the top just fell off my drink. Okay, so we're here. It is Friday. It is 6 days now until the first general election debate between Joe Biden and the Republican nominee, aka Donald Trump. So let's talk about it. And also, I'll take any of your other questions too. I'm happy to answer any questions you've got. Couple things to start. One, subscribe to this channel if you haven't done that already. Come on, people. What are you waiting for? Now's the time. Number two, subscribe to my newsletter. It's called So What? It's on Substack. You get it every single day. 70% of the content's free, 30% of it's paid. I'd love for you to be an investor / paid subscriber. Remember, every dollar helps. Every $5 you donate means, $5 more, right? That like I'm building up. So anything helps. It's $6 a month for the Substack newsletter. It's $60 for a year. It's not a huge expense. So do it. Okay, let's get to your questions. And remember, I will go as long as there are questions. Let me see here. I'm going to turn myself up a little. Okay. I will go for as long as there are questions. So let's do it. Chris Murphy, 15. Not a debate question, but what are your thoughts on Dan Hurley staying at UConn and JJ Redick coaching the Lakers? Ooh, I love to start on a sports question. Smart of Danny Hurley to stay at UConn. His style, yelling, manic, does not work in the NBA. Not with the modern NBA player. Like the idea of Danny Hurley like screaming at LeBron James and Anthony Davis is never going to work. JJ Redick, I don't know. I mean, he and LeBron are like friends, he's never coached before. So that's a little weird to all of a sudden be coaching the like most prominent or one of the most prominent franchises in the NBA. Honestly, if I was JJ Redick, I would have stayed doing what he was doing, making a bunch of money. He's like, well regarded as a broadcaster. He's doing podcasts. He's got his own company. Like I would just do that. I mean, I know there's probably a little bit more money in being a coach and maybe a little more prestige, but I don't know. I would not do that. But that's him. Nostalgic American, sound check. Yes, it's working. Will it make a difference that Trump will have the final closing statement in the debate? Or is it more important that viewers will be drawn to the right side of the stage, which is where Biden will be? I don't think it matters that much in terms of where they stand. In terms of the last statement, yeah, I mean, I guess it helps marginally to have the last word. I will say though, and I've seen the audience numbers for debate after debate after debate. The truth of the matter is these 90-minute or 2-hour debates, the first 30-ish minutes, there's a pretty big audience, and then the audience just kind of, right? People just, it starts at 9 o'clock, right? People like by 10, people really start to tune out on the East Coast. So I don't think it matters that much. And remember, the other thing is, this goes to my first point too. Most people will not consume the whole debate. They will consume it, even if they watch some of it, they'll consume it mostly in clips. So what really matters is like, do you have a moment or two moments that really stand out? Or does your opponent have a moment or two moments that really stand out on the opposite bad side? So, I don't think it matters all that much is my long answer to your short question. Sean D, any weekend plans for this hot weekend? Little baseball. Then I'm leaving to go to San Diego for soccer on Monday. I'm not playing. It's my son. So I will be in San Diego all next week. So if you have food, drink, and coffee recommendations in the greater San Diego, Del Mar area, tell me, because I'm going to be there for a week. I'm going to still try and do most of the content I'm doing. I'm going to try to make the videos. I'm not going to have this mic, so it might not sound as good, but I'm going to try to keep doing it. I'm going to try to keep writing on my Substack. But, you got to give me a little grace and a little leeway because I'm 3 hours behind. So no big plans this weekend. Stay inside. Drink iced coffee. Let's see. Saliza fan. Love it. Happy Friday. What are the odds Biden slips up during the debate? He's not reading off a teleprompter, so I say the odds are 70% to 30. He stumbles during at least one answer. So good question. I mean, I think what's hard is like, how do you define slips up, right? Like, does he fumble over his words? Does he slur his words a little bit? Yeah, he probably is going to do that. Like, that to me isn't that big a deal. I mean, Trump stumbles over his words sometimes too. Trump is 78, Biden is 81. To me, the real problem would be if there's like a question to Biden and he starts answering it and then he's like, and then he keeps answering it, right? Like that would be an issue, like a freeze up of some sort or a real senior moment where he has to ask what the question was again, or like something like that. To me, him being like, Vladimir Putin, like, or like mumbling or stumbling a little bit. To me, I don't think that's like decisive in terms of undecided voters. Like, yes, of course, people who hate Biden will be like, see, he's old, he's doddering. Does it really matter to the kind of sort of undecided voter? I don't think so. I think it has to be like a bigger thing, like a more obvious screw up or a more obvious sign of his age. That would be my take. Remember, keep asking questions. I will go as long as I can. So one thing I didn't mention, but I will briefly here. So if you become a paid subscriber to my newsletter on Substack, I do a 30-minute Zoom call one-on-one with you. I've done some. Talked to a guy yesterday who is came from YouTube to subscribe to the newsletter. So I'll do a 30-minute call. It'll be this background. It'll be probably me just chatting with you. So I do a bunch of those every week. So I have 2 at 2 and 2:30 Eastern today. So I can't go. I got to give myself a little time to eat something. So I can't go any past about 45 or 50 minutes today, but I will try to answer as many questions as I possibly can. Okay. So anyway, Tara Reed, not that Tara Reed. Chris, I'm not trying to fangirl here, but I'm curious what your anti-aging routine is. I definitely have not aged as gracefully as you. Do you use serums or such? Yes, I use nothing. And look at this hairline. I mean, it's not aging gracefully. So I'm 48. I try to, exercise and sleep and that kind of stuff, but no serums. But thank you for your kind words. Negative. Hello, Chris. I want to ask, did a pollster ever try to dig into those Senate Democrat, President Republican voters? Like what do their demography look like? I need to write about this. I think the question is getting to like, why is Jackie Rosen winning in Nevada in the Senate race, the Democrat, and Biden losing Nevada? Or why is Tammy Baldwin winning in Wisconsin and Biden losing Wisconsin? I think that's about Biden, right? I think Democrats have a candidate problem, right? Joe Biden is not particularly well regarded in these states. People have sort of made up their mind about him. So I don't think it's a broader Democratic Party issue. Like, I don't think it's a brand issue for the Democratic Party. I think it's much more about Biden, which is good-ish news if you're a Senate Democrat, because you can potentially win. But not good news if you want to hold the White House. So no, I've not seen pollsters ask that question. Like, why are you for Trump and then Tammy Baldwin, for example? But that's what I think is going on there. Let's see. Sherry Zimmerman. Oh, my question. Where did my question about honoring the Say Hey Kid go? It was the first place last night. I have no idea. That's weird. Yes, Willie Mays died this week, either the greatest or the second greatest baseball player ever. We can debate whether Babe Ruth or Willie Mays is the best baseball player ever, but yes, gigantic story. I would recommend the New York Times obit if you haven't read it on Willie Mays. It's long. I mean, they obviously knew Willie Mays was sick, so they knew it was coming. But it's really, really, really good. And I think really shows how incredibly good he was at baseball. Let's see. First Jack's Train says MAGA 2024. Okay, sure. Pocket Watch. How involved was Trump and or Team Trump in Project 2025? So for people who don't know what Project 2025 is, I've done a video on it. So just search it if you want to. Project 2025 is an effort to sort of make a blueprint for what Trump could do in office. He's not been involved in it. His campaign has said, look, this is not us. It's conservative think tanks. I mean, many of whom are populated by people who are pro-Trump. But it's not him and his campaign. Now, do I think they would use some of the stuff in Project 2025? Absolutely. Do I think it's like they're going to do every little thing in there? Probably not. But I do think they'll use it. But they have not been involved, at least publicly, or anything that I can find privately. Sam, hey, Chris, do you think the debate will be more like the first one from 2020, a total S show, or the second one? I think it will be like the first one in 2020, which is just crazy, right? I think the stakes are super high. I think the candidates are going to be very amped up as a result. I think Trump really feels like this is his big opportunity to show that Biden is old and not up to the job. Look, the debate rules might make it a little harder, like the mics being muted when you're not supposed to be talking and stuff. But I just wonder how that's going to look in actual execution. Like, how do you kind of decide when exactly to cut off a mic? Or, like, there are obvious clear-cut ones if you just try to interrupt or something. But like, if there's a back and forth going, and Biden saying some, Trump something, how do you decide, like, okay, that's it? Like, so I would vote for S show, big time. Carlo Fassi, you watching any of the European Championships or Copa America games? Of course I am. I watched the Argentina game last night. Messi was Messi, brilliant. And we are watching some of the Copa games. My issues, the Euro games, my issues, they're on during the day. And a lot of times I'm doing stuff or in meetings or driving somewhere. So I don't see as many of them as I would like. But yes, I'm absolutely keeping them or watching them. Phil Reinhart, the YouTube transcription service writes Kirsty Gnome's last name as Gnome, Gnome. Maybe it's smarter than we thought. Maxwell Feiner, will either candidate leave in the middle of the debate? Good question. No, I don't think so. Biden certainly won't. I mean, I guess Trump could. My view with Trump is anything is possible, right? I mean, I think given what we know about Trump in politics, I don't think you'd be super comfortable ruling anything out. Right? Being like, oh, no, he definitely won't do that. I don't think he will, though. I mean, I guess he could be like, this is so unfair, I'm leaving. But I don't think he will. But he is very theatrical, and leaving would, be a huge moment. But no, I think they both stay for the whole thing. I think. Let's see. Oh, geez, sorry. I just jumped down. Lots of good questions. Keep them coming. Let's see. Sorry. Chris, in the wake of your speeding ticket, have you been listening to a certain NWA song about the police? So here's what I don't love. First of all, I was going 37 and 25, which is not fast. Second, it was a automated ticket. They just mailed it to me. So like a camera caught it, sent it, and that's $100. That doesn't seem fair. Like, my view of getting tickets is like, yes, I occasionally run a yellow/red light. So if I do it and there's a cop there, they pull me over. Fair play to you. But camera, robots are taking over the world. Travis Michaels, did you ask the officer, do you know who I am? It was a photo. I didn't even have the opportunity to big time the officer. Yeah, I mean, Maxwell Feiner, favorite ride at Disney World, Space Mountain. It's the oldest ride, and it's got the longest line. Ric Flair. Woo! Let's see. Mike Smithgull. What role do you see Trump playing post 2028, assuming he wins? He's not really a party builder. He is not a party builder. I don't know the answer to that because he doesn't want the spotlight to be on anyone else, right? Like, he wants it on him exclusively. So I don't totally know what he has, and nor would he be good, I think, in the role of like Eminence Grease, the gray beard of the party, the sort of godfather/grandfather of the party. Like, I can't imagine him in that role either. Maybe he tries to put one of his kids in, maybe he decides to play kingmaker and pick sort of the next Republican nominee. I guess I could see that. But again, in order to do that, Trump has to sort of admit that the spotlight is moving on from him. And he never likes the spotlight moving on from him. So he would probably, here's my guess. So he gets reelected. He's president for 4 years, and then he's done, assuming he leaves. So he leaves office. My guess would be 2029 and 2030 would be a lot of him making people who want to be the Republican nominee for president in 2020, or excuse me, down the line, want to be the Republican nominee for president, come and kiss the ring at Mar-a-Lago, because that's what he likes doing, right? I think. Let's see. You often talk about the YouTube algorithm. Can you provide any details of what that measures and how it pays? Not really. I wish I knew more about the YouTube algorithm, to be totally honest. I mean, my sense of YouTube is it's all about quantity. You got to have more followers, more eyeballs, and when that happens, they can charge more for the ads that they sell, the automatic ads that they sell. I don't understand the business model. I will tell you, I make very little money from YouTube at this point. Very little, like maybe a couple $1,000s. I mean, it's not much. But I think it's a really important medium. I like it. It's fun to do. So, I'm going to keep doing it, but I will tell you, I mean, like, yes, Mr. Beast obviously makes millions and Dude Perfect makes millions, but it's hard even with almost 30,000 subscribers. Like, I still need more quantity to make it work. And I don't totally understand the algorithm. It's not like YouTube shares the algorithm. But comments do help. I think engagement does help. I think the more videos of mine you watch helps, that sort of thing. But I don't know. I understand traffic on the internet a lot better than I understand traffic, like, to news stories, a lot better than I understand traffic to YouTube. Alicia Glauser, everyone, please like the video together. Yes, like the video. That does help. We know that. Black Round 05. Do you think there's a blind spot in polling? There appears to be a sustained bump for Biden. I don't think that's a blind spot. I mean, I think Biden, it looks to me like Biden, after the Trump conviction on the 34 felony counts on falsifying business records, Biden has bumped up a point or two nationally pretty steadily. So now we're in basically a tie race. I don't think that's a blind spot. That makes sense to me. It makes sense that, Biden might gain marginally. Now, the question is, do those gains sustain? I mean, what we've seen before was, so we started the year with Trump ahead 1 to 3 points nationally and about the same in most swing states. Then Biden gave his State of the Union speech in March. It was really well received. I think Democrats started to unify behind him, and you saw the race be tied. Then after that, May, it started to open back up again. Trump 1 to 3 point lead nationally and in swing states. And now we're kind of back to where we were after the State of the Union, which is it's effectively tied. So look, Biden hasn't led in the race meaningfully for any period of time, but he's also never been behind by like more than 2 or 3 points. So like, it's just going to be close. I mean, I know people don't like to hear that. They like some certainty, but there isn't any. It's going to be close. I can't tell you who's going to win. Let's see. Sterling, what do you think about Trump's babysitters panicking already that they're saying that President Biden will take PEDs for the debate? It's never Trump's fault. Yes. So I wrote about this in my newsletter, which, by the way, you can subscribe to. Go to So What, type So What Substack into Google. Yes, Trump has already built in 2 excuses if Biden is not totally out of it during the debate. Number one is he was on drugs. Trump suggests cocaine. Remember, he said that about Biden during the State of the Union. He said Biden was energized. He must have been on cocaine. Okay. That's excuse one that he will definitely use if he doesn't roll over Biden in the debate. Excuse 2 will be, well, the moderators were against me and CNN's against me and the debate rules were against me and it was 3-on-1. And, I still was great, even though those odds were stacked, blah, blah, blah. So yes, he will absolutely do both of those things. Sam, thank you for the donation. Sam gave me $10. He said to help for the speeding ticket. Also love Ric Flair to be the man. Woo! You got to beat the man. The best. Flair is the best. Thank you. As always, every little bit helps people. $5. Noel Fredrickson, donation for CNN, Citizen News Network. What are your thoughts on which way independents lean? And what do you think the effects on the election are? So I just saw a poll yesterday. This was the Fox News poll. It was 50 Biden, 48 Trump. Trump had been ahead among independents by 2 in their last poll, and now Biden was ahead by 7. that's the key to the election, right? Undecided, independent voters. That's sort of how we get to figure out who wins, because it's going to be close. I honestly don't know the answer to that. I think it's a battle between, is Biden too old and ineffective versus is Trump too corrupt, right? I think that's sort of how they think about it. And I don't know where they land. Thank you both for your donations. Very kind and very much appreciated. Let's see. Sorry, I'm finding out where I am. Oh, okay. Chris asks, Chris, what would it take to end the hyperpolarization of the country? Well, it's not going to happen quickly or easily. A couple suggestions. One, you have to change the political incentive structure. So how do you do that? You do top two primaries where, there's an incentive to try to reach across the aisle a little bit to win voters. You do ranked choice voting potentially, where you say like, Crystal is number one, this coffee cup is number three, and this microphone is number two, and this microphone is number three. And then if Crystal is eliminated, then the vote goes to the microphone. They do it in some places. They do it in a few states. It takes a while, but again, it rewards people who reach out beyond their base. You need congressional districts that incentivize competition between the two parties, as opposed to building as many safe districts as possible. Right now, we have redistricting every 10 years. The last 3 or 4 has focused on building safe districts for both parties. If that's what we have, then you're going to elect people who are running to the extreme, because a primary is the whole race. That's just a few things, but it has to be structural change. It's not going to be like one person ending partisanship. Utopia 1992 says, my first live. Welcome. Love it. James Dorn, you and Brian Tyler Cohen would make a great podcast together. You know what? I'm going to take a note on that and see if I reach out to him. Brian Tyler Cohen. Make it over. Brian Tyler Cohen. Got it. Thank you. Catherine Beat, some people wonder if Trump will show up. What do you think? Yes. Again, I wrote about this. I just don't think Trump is going to no-show at this debate. He wants to debate Biden. He is convinced that he is going to kick Biden's butt. We can argue about whether he will or not, right? But he is convinced that Biden is going to show himself to be old and out of it in a setting like this, where he has to stand for an hour and a half or 2 hours, where he has to respond to questions without a teleprompter, where there's sort of a back and forth. He has to think on his feet. Trump is convinced that Biden is going to do badly. Okay. So he wants this to happen. I just don't see any way that he backs out. I mean, it's Trump. I just said 5 minutes ago, never say never about anything. So sure, I guess it's possible he backs out. I just don't think it's likely. I like Mandalorian. Sir, how would third-party candidates potentially affect a debate? Would it be appropriate or desirable for them to participate in any? So I wrote yesterday in my newsletter, sorry to be repetitive, but I did, about why I thought actually RFK Jr. should probably be in this debate. Not because I think he's going to win, not because I agree with him, but because he has shown a level of support that is significantly beyond any recent third-party candidate. So he's at about 10% nationally. The last person to do better than that was Ross Perot in 1992. 1992. Perot got like 19% of the vote. In 96, he got 8% of the vote. So just by way of comparison, like Ralph Nader in 2000, remember, it was a huge deal. Ralph Nader's third-party candidacy, he got 2.7% of the vote nationally. So Kennedy is like an actual factor in the race. And I get why CNN wouldn't want him, because really only Trump or Biden can win. So he functions as a little bit of a distraction. I'm just saying, if you look at it objectively, and this guy is at 10 consistently, look, I think he probably has a case to make to deserve that platform. Little Man 942, thank you for your donation. Super kind. Much appreciated, folks. If you want to donate, please do. Every little bit helps. What are your thoughts on Jamal Bowman and his fight to maintain New York District 16? I think he's probably going to lose. He's running against a guy named George Latimer, who's been a elected official county executive in that it's a Long Island, that area for a really long time. Not Long Island. So I think he's probably going to lose. There's been a massive amount of money spent against him. I think he's not particularly well established in that district, even though he's represented it for 2 terms. So if I had to guess, George Latimer would win. But, primaries are weird, right? Because it's a pretty small electorate. So you never totally know how it's going to go. But if I had to guess, I would say Latimer. Josh, do you think the debate in September will be more important than the one June 27th? Also, do you think this debate will look a lot like the second 2020 debate? Okay, so let me take them one at a time. No, I think the first debate matters more. This debate on June 27th, I think, matters more. There will be more eyeballs on it for sure. Every election, the first debate is the most watched debate. So I think this one matters more. Second, I don't know if there will be a September debate. I know it's on the schedule. I know ABC's doing it. It's September 10th. I know all those things. I'm just saying, I think it's heavily dependent on what happens in the first debate, right? If one of these two candidates decides it's no longer in their interest to debate, they'll just not do the second debate, right? There's no penalty. I mean, I guess there's a potential public opinion penalty, but it's not like anything that they have to do, right? They've agreed to do it. So I think this debate matters more, and I give it a 50-50 chance we'll have a second debate. When we get to that debate, we'll figure out sort of where the race is and what's next. Alicia, Chris, I can't believe we have a Biden-Trump rematch. Who would you choose for the Dems Republican candidates? Okay, well, so I think the best Republican candidate couldn't win a primary, but for a general election is Nikki Haley. She obviously couldn't win the primary or come close to beating Donald Trump, but I think she would be the candidate who would have the best chance to win the White House. On the Democratic side, a little bit harder to tell. Obviously, we didn't have a real primary in 2024, and we only had sort of one in 2020. I think someone like Gretchen Whitmer probably would be the strongest. She's from a swing Midwestern state. She's a woman, two-term governor. You know, if I had to pick, but again, she would have flaws too, right? Every candidate has flaws. Haley has flaws. But yeah, if I had to pick, I think I'd pick the two of them. Theo Warner. Ever see that episode of Black Mirror with the Prime Minister and the pig? That's what this debate feels like to me. Did I see that one? I definitely saw the one where they try to elect. I saw a political one and I can't remember it. I've not seen all of them. They're so unsettling. So unsettling. The one that I remember the most is the woman who downloads her dead boyfriend's memories into a lifelike person who becomes him. Elena Moon, the chart in last night's post. Do you think the decline in people supporting democracy has to do with the rich and corporations having more power over politics than what the majority of people want? So this is a chart from Pew. It said in the 12 most economically advanced countries in the world that have democracy, the belief that democracy is an effective form of government is going down consistently. I don't know about why. I mean, I do think populism is sort of, on the march, and with it, a little tinge of authoritarianism too. I think people who are like, democracy isn't working should try the alternative. Basically, that's my view. So I don't know, but I was super, super interested. Mike Smithgall, with two very well-known entities, do you believe people are actually undecided, or are they just not committing? I mean, I think there's some percentage of people who say they're undecided who are definitely going to vote for one or the other, and that's not going to change. Do I think there are actual undecideds? Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think it's like 2 or 3% of people. I think people like to say they're undecided in the same way they like to say they're independent. But the truth of the matter is, most people, particularly in a presidential race, particularly in a presidential race this polarized, basically know who they're going to vote for. I think the people who really go back and forth between Trump and Biden are probably between 1 and 3% of the voting age population. Yeah. Colin Williamson, how do you think age impacts debate prep for each candidate? Do you think there will be less focus on pre-planned quips and speeches for fear the candidates won't be able to remember them? There might be. That's actually a really good point, because I think one of the things that's hard is you go into these debates with a couple lines you want to use, and then if you botch the line because you don't remember it right, or you get part of it, it doesn't work as well. One thing that's interesting to note is you can't bring any notes into the debate. Now, that's not super new. You will have a pen and paper or pencil and paper, so you will be able to jot things down right when they get up there. They'll be able to, maybe they've got 5 things they definitely want to say, or talking points or reminders or something that they'll jot down. But I do think that that's sort of an interesting X factor, which is you kind of got to go on what you got in the old dome for that time. I think both of them have been forgetful at times. I think it's more damaging if Biden forgets something big, if Biden, says The president of France is fill in the blank, not Emmanuel Macron, and it's the president from 25 years ago. That's more of a problem for him than for Trump. But yeah, I think that's interesting. I hadn't really thought about it, but yeah, there may be a little less sort of canned, like memorized lines because they can't memorize as many lines. Let's see. Phil, good afternoon, all. Hope the weekend finds you all well and staying cool. I agree, Phil. Same. Um, let's see. Sorry, I'm going through. Oh, geez, I lost my spot. Okay, this one's easy to answer. Who is moderating the debates, and do you think they can control the debates? Do they provide questions in advance? So, two of my former colleagues, Jake Tapper and Dana Bash from CNN, are moderating the debate. They absolutely do not provide questions to the candidates in advance. Not a thing. Not done. Um, so no, the candidates don't. I mean, yes, there's going to be a question on immigration. Yes, there's going to be a question on age. Yes, there's going to be probably multiple questions on the economy. Yes, there'll be a question about Donald Trump's felony convictions and what that means for the election. So we kind of know, like, of course, like there's some obvious things that are going to be asked, but they don't know specifically what's going to be asked, nor will they, nor should they, right? Um, by the way, just for people who are consuming this, most networks are going to stream the or telecast the CNN feed. I'm going to be watching it on C-SPAN on this YouTube channel, watching it on C-SPAN and commenting on it in a little box. I'll be like in this corner here, just a little box talking about it. If you saw what I did for the State of the Union, I'm going to try and do the same thing for the debate. I'll be in California, so it'll be a little earlier for me. That's good. So we're going to do something like that, just in case you were wondering. Let's see. Tim Apple, the YouTube algorithm is easily offended and censorious. That it is. John C., why do you think Biden is struggling on messaging and branding this election cycle? Good question. I don't know the answer to that really, but I do think they've struggled a little bit on the messaging front. I wrote about that or talked about it today in my my Substack newsletter. Yeah, like I do think they have struggled to sort of find particularly something that sticks to Donald Trump, which, by the way, they're not unique in. It weirdly is hard to make an attack stick to Donald Trump. It seems odd to me, but it is. It was hard in the 2020 Republican primary. It was hard in the 2024 Republican, or excuse me, the 2016 Republican primary, hard in the 2024 Republican primary, hard in the 2016 general election, hard in 2020, hard now. What they've settled on is this idea that something snapped, Biden's words, something snapped in Trump when he lost the 2020 election, and that now he's a worse version of himself going forward. So they're trying to make it about character going forward, as opposed to character looking back at the 2016 to 2020 when Trump was president. But I don't really know why. I mean, I think part of it is Trump is hard to pin down, and people kind of, a lot of the negatives on him are just baked in. People like kind of roll their eyes like, wow, that's just Trump being Trump. So, I think some of it's just that. So I don't totally blame the Biden people for it. I think it's hard to find a negative message on Trump. We'll see if this one they've picked works. Let's see. Wes Varner. Hey, Chris, given the age of candidates, how much do you think Trump's prospective VP choice changes perception as they're seemingly much more close to the presidency than the usual VP? Yeah, I think in both cases, Trump and Biden, the VP is a little more meaningful this time because they are both so old. I think, if you remember, Nikki Haley during the Republican primary basically made the argument like, look, if you vote for Joe Biden again, you're really voting for Kamala Harris to be president, which is pretty morbid because she's essentially saying like Joe Biden's going to die in the next 4 years. But you wouldn't normally hear that if the president was 55 years old. So yeah, I think it matters a little bit more. I still think people mostly just vote for the top of the ticket. I mean, I think it can have a marginal effect on like, oh, okay, they picked this person or that person. Like, I like that person. But overall, I think it's pretty marginal. Maybe it matters a little bit more. We'll see. Scott Mowry, thank you for the donation. He says, because all of us in your boat need to keep you rowing. Yes, that is 100% true. I appreciate it so much. Genuinely. Thank you. Any donations help. Let's see. Let's keep going here. Maxwell Feiner, if Trump wins and refuses to leave, what would happen? Well, the thing is, he's not president, right? And I think that's a really important point. I know it's obvious, but he's not president. And he was president during the 2020 election. So it's a lot harder. There's nowhere for him to leave, right? He's the ex-president of the United States. So if he loses, he's just the ex-president of the United States. He doesn't have any ability to use the power of the federal government to try to stay in office. Now, if you mean he refuses to leave as a figure in the party, he will refuse to leave as a figure in the party. He will stay on for as long as he possibly can. He will try to lead the party until he dies. I just don't see any other path, right? Even if he loses in November, he will say it was rigged. He will say they stole it from him. He will say 2028 is when we're going to get our revenge, et cetera, et cetera. But in terms of like the actual mechanics, he's not president, right? So getting him out of office, you don't have to get him out of office. That was what was so dangerous about 2020 and early 2021. He was using the powers of the presidency and the powers of the federal government to try to stay in office. He can't do that this time around. Mo Coffee, YouTube is making money. Who are they? Who on YouTube is making money? You know, people with millions of subscribers, mostly celebrities, some like YouTube natives. I mean, I'm making money. It's just not like, you know, quit all the other things I'm doing and just do YouTube making money. I have to keep building my subscriber base. Windward to Eden says, I've had a YouTube channel for 4 years and haven't made a dime. I'd say you're doing good. Thank you. I appreciate it. And like I said, I am. It's not that. It's just like, you know, I got expenses and I got to figure out how to add up enough to make it all work. And YouTube is not the only path right now for me, but I'm going to keep doing it. Let's see. Sorry, I'm scrolling. Did that one? Rohan Anthony. So I actually think this is a really good point. Trump has set such low standards for Biden. Yes. Like one of the things I'm amazed by is that Donald Trump continues in the run up to this debate to say like, Joe Biden doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know he's alive. He can't walk in and on and off a stage. Like you're setting the bar so low for the other guy. Like if Biden gets up there and he's moderately capable, people will be like, oh, Biden, he's totally with it. Right. Like it's odd to me that the way that Trump has set this up is that if Biden is even quasi able, Trump has to say he was on drugs. It's not great. Like I don't think that, yes, Biden is old. Yes, he moves slower. Yes, he talks slower than even a couple of years ago. But I don't think he's going to get up on the stage, I don't think, and be like, where am I? How did I get here? You know what I mean? Like, he's not going to do that. Now, could he have a medical episode or freeze? I guess, you know, but I just think Trump has set the bar so low for Biden that it's, you know, if he's like marginally conversant, people are going to be like, he was great. So there's that. And that's on him. Let's see. Mo Coffee says Trump won't debate if RFK is there. RFK is not going to be there. CNN announced yesterday he did not qualify. So he had to get 4 national polls where he was at 15% or higher. He had 3, and he had to show that he had qualified for the ballot in states that add up to 270 electoral votes, and he wasn't very close to that. So he is not going to be there. Sean Hale, Lacheserie Chris, your Mr. Tony visits are appreciated. Thank you. People always ask me, by the way, they're talking about Tony Kornheiser. If you do not listen to the Tony Kornheiser Show podcast, you should. People always ask me what the cartoon behind me is. So it's this. A guy named Eric Londergan did it. He's a friend of the Kornheiser Show, and it's playing off of my anxieties. I hope I give you enough time to read that. So if you didn't know, now you know. Avery Neal says, I got an ad. Yeah, they do run ads in between this. I don't totally know why. Again, got to make money, right? Let's see. Kennedy Ivy, do you think the mic muting will help or hurt Biden? So I think it marginally helps him because I think it hurts Trump, right? If you watch the first debate, well, maybe it does. So here's what I think. Trump is going to interrupt and try to talk over Biden and bully Biden. He did it all in the 2020 first debate. I actually think that's probably why he lost the first debate, in my opinion, because he just was like awful. You were like, oh, this part, like, forget what he said, forget what he believes. You were just like, oh, I don't want this guy around. So maybe the mute thing helps Trump in a weird way, and that it doesn't allow him to interrupt as much. But I think marginally it helps Biden, because I think it keeps the debate more formal, less of a knife fight, and the less of a knife fight, the better for Biden. Because, dramatic pause, Trump thinks better on his feet than Biden. And Trump is good at knife fights. Biden is less good at them. Biden is a creature of the Senate, right? He's used to long speeches about policy. Trump is like made for 30-second clips. Trump is made for the viral video era. So I would say a mute button helps Biden marginally, though I could be convinced it helps Trump in that it keeps him from doing the thing that people hate about him, which is the interrupting. Let's see. Oh, shoot. Sometimes it just skips down. That's weird. Krista Williamson says, I will switch between you or Brian Taylor Cohen via live stream during the debate. Okay, that's all I can ask for. I appreciate it. Phil Sternastek, Phil, I'm sorry, I know I'm saying this wrong, says Mystery Science Theater 3000 style. That is exactly what I'm going to do. So I love Mystery Science Theater 3000. If you have not seen it, it's basically like a robot, a guy, and another thing watching movies, and they're shot from behind, these terrible old movies, and they just comment on it. That's what I want to do for the debate. That is my goal. So that's my plan. Let's see. But thank you for noticing it. Lady D Wisdom, 2 issues dominating the election: immigration and abortion. Immigration doesn't affect every household. Abortion does. Biden wins 2024. Maybe. I think you're right. I think Biden wants this election to be about abortion, and Trump wants this election to be about immigration. No question. And I think if either one of them gets what they want, they win. I think it's probably a fight between the two. I think Joe Biden should talk about abortion every single day. Every speech should be Donald Trump appointed 3 conservative Supreme Court justices, and they abolished Roe v. Wade, or repealed Roe v. Wade, or whatever you want to call it, overturned Roe v. Wade. I agree. So we'll see. But yes. Jason Roberts, thoughts on why this race is so close when in the past a candidate with 1% of Trump's baggage would have flamed out? Gary Hart, Howard Dean, John Edwards. Yep. Because I think people judge Trump by a different standard. They judge him as sort of a celebrity / entertainer more than they judge him as a politician. So I think that's part of it. I think another part of it is there is a cult of personality in the Republican Party around Trump. So like, it doesn't really matter. Anything he says or does, they're okay with, right? Like if Trump all of a sudden said, you know what, I've reconsidered my views on sort of trade. We're too isolationist. We need to be more globalist and expansionist. So people would just go along with it because they like Trump. They don't care about really the policies, not really. So I think it's a combination of those two things, but you're 100% right. Anyone, I mean, I still remember, go back into 2015, the summer of 2015, Donald Trump is in Arizona. He's on stage somewhere and he says, he's bad-mouthing John McCain in Arizona. And he says, I like my war heroes not captured. I thought that was the end for sure for him. If Jeb Bush had said that, or Mitt Romney or Paul Ryan or Ron DeSantis, it would have been a massive deal. Didn't matter. The truest thing Trump ever said, I say this all the time, but it's true, is I could shoot someone in the middle of Fifth Avenue and I wouldn't lose any support. Totally true. Let's see. Ryan Holbrook, which potential Trump VP candidate helps Trump the most? Strategically, I'd say Vance, but it seems like he'd immediately start campaigning for 2028 and overshadow Trump. Yeah. Again, important caveat. I don't think any VP candidate wins a state for Donald Trump or Joe Biden. I think it's very marginal, their sort of their role, even though these guys are old and these two people who they pick might be president. If he was picking solely for political advantage, I think he should pick Nikki Haley. As I said before, I just think she helps with suburban women, which is where he needs help. Yeah, Vance, Midwestern, populist, much younger than Trump. J.D. Vance, we're talking about the senator from Ohio. Friendly with Don Jr., which I think matters. I do agree with you. He's sort of a star, which is a little bit dangerous because Trump doesn't like that. No one shines brighter than Trump, right? That's not allowed, which may be why he picks Doug Burgum, the governor of North Dakota. Safe, right? Very loyal to Trump. Looks the part. Trump looks the part. But I think Nikki Haley would be way smarter from a political perspective. And if not her, Tim Scott, the senator from South Carolina, African-American senator, but This is Trump, right? Um, let's see. Let's see. David McLaughlin, 2 Atlanta questions. Will you be in Atlanta to cover the debate? Second, who should the Hawks take at number 1? Okay, I love it. I will not. I'm going to be on the West Coast at a soccer tournament with my son. That said, there's no studio audience in this debate. I always think that it's a mistake for reporters to be in the room during a presidential debate because it's a different experience, right? The reality is 73 whatever million people are going to watch it on TV, right? So if you want to analyze it, you need to watch it on TV. You need to watch it through the medium they're watching it. They don't get to sit there and watch the candidates from 15 feet away or talk to their advisors. Like, I actually think the more clean experience is watch it on TV like everybody else and analyze it. So no, I will not be there, but I will be watching. As I said, I will be doing my split screen picture-in-picture analysis, Mystery Theater, Science Theater 3000 style. As for the Hawks, well, our hometown Wizards have the number 2 pick, so I think the 2 French guys, Alex Sarr and Rissar Shea, are going to go 1-2. I don't know enough about them. I think they're both kind of projects. Like, there's no obvious good number 1 pick. It's not like Wembanyama. So I don't really know, but I think they're going to go 1-2. What's amazing to me is Reed Shepherd from Kentucky, freshman, might go 3, which is wild. Let's see. Phil says, Chris, what happened to awesome political nicknames? Andrew Jackson was Old Hickory. James K. Polk was Young Hickory and or Napoleon of the Stump. Reagan was the Great Communicator or the Gipper, right? I agree. We need more nicknames. I was just thinking of that. Like Tim Duncan, the Big Fundamental. We need way more nicknames. Like what? Like Joe Biden, Old Scranton, Donald Trump, the Entertainer. I don't know, but yes, agree. We need better nicknames. Like, wasn't Lincoln the Rail Splitter? I mean, that's a badass nickname. Let's see. You Snooze You News says Tim Scott will be VP to help Trump in Michigan and Wisconsin. Maybe, although I would say I think right now the 3 most likely are Doug Burgum, JD Vance, and Marco Rubio. Johnny McNabb, do you think there will be a second debate 50-50? As I said before, I could believe it, but I think much depends on what happens next week. And so we'll see. Let's see. Oh, gosh, I keep skipping down. Meatball Ron is good for a nickname. That was a good nickname. Or Pudding Fingers for Ron DeSantis. Pudding Fingers. Brutal nickname. Oh, yes. Phil says, for Mystery Science Theater 3000, it's a Gumball Machine robot and a lamp robot and a man. Yes, it is awesome. Gary Bromberg, FYI, YouTube Premium customers don't get ads in the live feed. So if you want to become a YouTube Premium customer, do it. You should do that. Let's see. Billy D. The Republican Party is the best and the easiest source of the income Trump has ever had. The grift has always been his most successful business. He's definitely not leaving it. 100%. 100%. He spent his whole life wanting to be in the spotlight, wanting to be the center of attention, right? Because it's good for business and because he likes being that person. He's not willingly walking away from it. I still remember in the after he got elected in 2016, like around 2018, people were like, Trump hates it. He's not going to run for another term. I was like, of course he's going to run for another term. He can't even believe he's president. You think he's going to walk away from that? Which, by the way, is the same logic with Biden. Joe Biden spent from 1987 until now trying to get elected president. He gets elected president. You think he's going to be like, you know what? I am too old. I'm walking away. No chance. No chance. Let's see. Dr. Always First. How can Biden use the recent huge number of Supreme Court decisions in the debate? I do think they will. I think Biden will mention the Supreme Court and the potential, of appointing more justices. Trump obviously appointed 3. I think he'll mostly talk about it in the context of Roe v. Wade, if I'm being honest, and say, look, the reason that we have this is because Trump was president. He nominated these folks who are conservative, and that's why it's been overturned. So I think he will talk about it. I don't think he's going to talk about. I don't think he'll talk about like Trump immunity or that kind of stuff. I don't think. Let's see. Wes Varner, the amazing line about politics that I have to paraphrase seems apt. Just remember that the mayor from Jaws is the mayor in Jaws too. It's so true. He did a terrible job. Just remember The town is open for business. And then Jaws ran. Yes, incumbency is a powerful thing. Well said. Phil says looks the part equals out of central casting in his parlance. Right. So he does say he's out of central casting. He says that all the time. Trump loves someone who looks the part. It's why he picked Rex Tillerson as Secretary of State in his first term. Rex Tillerson was like the head of Exxon, and he was like an old guy with white hair, and he kind of looked what Trump thinks a Secretary of State should look like. No question. Let's see. Yes, I will be doing a live stream during the debate, folks. It will be in this space. It will be on this channel. It will be the C-SPAN feed of the debate and then me in the corner talking. So yes. Sorry, I'm going. Jason Brown, do you think that even though the mics will be muted, that Trump will continue talking and throw Biden off his game? Great question. Yeah, I think that's uniquely possible. Because in the room, like Biden will be able to hear him, right? And the moderators will be able to hear him. I think it might be muffled on TV, but yeah, I could see that just to try to throw Biden off. Absolutely. Again, Trump is good at knife fights. Trump is the guy who's going to, it's like a wrestling match, a pro wrestling match. Trump's going to be the guy who like hits you below the belt when the ref isn't looking. The guy who like takes the brass knuckles out of his tights and hits you when the ref isn't looking. That's who he is. That's what he does. So yeah. Let's see. Jose de Jesus says, I finally caught a live stream. Love it. That's great. Thank you. I'm glad you're here. Jason Brown, has there been talk of a VP debate yet if and when Trump selects running mate? Kamala Harris has already agreed to a VP debate. I think it's in October. I don't think the Trump campaign has yet. Obviously, they don't have a VP yet. Again, up in the air. I could go either way on it. I guess we'll see. Like whether it actually happens. Pierre Holmes says, I think Trump will pick Doug Burgum as running mate. Yeah, I think if you were a betting person, I think Doug Burgum would have the best odds, be the favorite right now for sure. Let's see. Just seeing what else. Yes, Phil Cisternak says, the American Cincinnatus, the apostle of democracy, Blue Whiskey, Van Silent Cal, that man in the White House, Tricky Dick, Slick Willie. Yes, we had nicknames. Dan Lanning's PR team says, why did Biden pick the right podium? I have no clue. I don't know. Don't read too much into it. Okay, I got to go. So I've got, remember, if you become a subscriber to my Substack, a paid subscriber, $6 a month, $60 a year, you get a free, I mean, it costs $6, but live stream with me, not live stream, a one-on-one Zoom call with me. So I'm actually running to do those with 2 paid subscribers right now. So if you want to check it out, just go to So What, Chris Cillizza, just search it in Google, it'll come up, or Chris Cillizza Substack or Chris Cillizza newsletter, it should come up. I'll be back next week. Again, I think the videos may be a little bit more irregular. They're probably going to post a little later because I will be on the West Coast. But I'll be back next week. Thursday night, we will do a live stream. I'll probably set it up before the debate, probably significantly before the debate, so I can sort of talk to it maybe 45 minutes or an hour before it starts, take your questions, shoot the stuff. And then I'll watch the debate with you. And I'll probably jump in here or there and be like, oh, that's a good point, or that was bad. Try not to talk over too much of it, but watch it. And then afterward, I'm going to do a Zoom call with paid subscribers to my newsletter where we will sort of go through who we think won and who we think lost. Okay, that's it for today. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay cool. Spread the word about this channel, about my Substack, about what I'm doing. Right? We are on the march toward 30,000 followers. I think we're at 27,500 now, which is amazing. So take care. Next week's going to be a huge week in politics. I will have videos. I will have stuff on my newsletter. I'll be in your inbox. I'll be in your videos. I'll see you next week. Take care.